about somebody else's book for a change. I keep getting called to talk about my own books, but that gets boring after a while. And this was one book, when I was reading it, I honestly wished that somebody would ask me to come and talk about it. But I had hoped that I would be asked to speak for 45 minutes, not for 7 minutes. Because this is a book which is truly close to my heart. In fact, some of my books talk about India in a tongue-in-cheek manner, but this is a very, very serious take by a very, very serious scholar, Ashok Mody, who is an IIT Madras graduate, who got his PhD from Boston University and was an economist with the International Monetary Fund for almost 25 years, and is currently a visiting chair professor at the University of Princeton. So that's as authentic as it gets to write a book like this. India is broken. Very dismal title, and the subtitle is even worse, and why it is difficult to fix. But believe me, this is a book that each one of us, if we truly are nationalists or patriots, we ought to read to understand our history from 1947 till today. This book, without favor or partisanism or anything, talks about all that has been happening over the last 75 years, starting with Nehru. For instance, he says, economists refer to education, health, urban infrastructure, clean water, clean air, and a fair and responsive judiciary as public goods. Nobody can argue with that. If public goods are so essential to achieving broadly shared economic growth, why has Indian democracy failed to respond to that need? So are we a democracy in that sense? A democracy requires that those who command power and influence place greater value on civic welfare than on their own opportunistic profit and prestige. But what do our politicians do? Any public goods that you get, the infrastructure that you get, or tax concessions that you get, or pension increase that you get happen just around elections. They happen for two reasons, either to win the next elections or for reasons of corruption. You build a bridge, you get your 40% or 30%, whatever is inside. And this talks about this culture starting since 1947. Nehru apparently realized very early that there was this serious problem of corruption. But he was not able to do much about it because he was not a man of details. It was left to Shastri as early as 1962 to set up what was called Santanam Committee, which submitted its report in 1963. And here are some excerpts. The Santanam Committee highlighted the well-known corruption stemming from the allocation of import and industrial licenses. But as the committee emphasized, public corruption was pervasive. For contracts of construction, purchases and sales, the Santanam Committee report noted, a custom of percentages is prevalent, and this is shared in agreed proportions among concerned officials. The custom was most entrenched in the award of contracts by the Public Works Department, where the executive engineer charged between 7 and 11% in those days. Today it's 40%. You know that. A sum he typically shared with junior engineers and increasingly with his superiors. So you can see that as early as 1963, there is talk about corruption. And he is also talking about Nehru, who overlooked mass education, mass job creation, and mass health. This was overlooked by Nehru while he was setting up heavy engineering industries, which did not create mass education. But no politician thereafter, right up to Modi now, has been able to do any of these three. Nobody has really worried about the quality of... See, you and I are 0.25% of the country's population. Don't worry about where your children and my children go. Let us talk about the 70% of Indians where their children go. There is no mass education. That is why you are not able to, the number of good colleges you can count remains about the same since you were knee-high to a grasshopper until today. There are about a dozen colleges you can think on your fingers, and there is no other top college that comes to your mind. There are a handful of IITs. You have created 20 more and call them IITs, but they don't become IITs for that reason. You have 22 IIMs, but they are not IIMs beyond 3 or 4 really if you get down to it. So, and these are the points that he brings out repeatedly in the book. For example, even things like, he has very interesting takes on the divisive politics that we play. He says, for example, in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, the cow to bullock ratio is the same as it is in Pakistan. Now, we make a big deal of hanging people transporting cows and turning the face the other way, because we believe that Muslims are the ones who are killing the cows. But in Bihar and UP, the cow-bullock ratio is the same as it is in Pakistan. Numbers. My previous speaker, the colonel, spoke about numbers. So here are numbers which tell you what the reality is. And we are creating a politics today where mass education, mass health, and mass job creation has been neglected forever. Our priority is cow-bullock ratio, where we are using wrong numbers to mislead people, and that is captured in the book. So from Nehru, in fact, he even says, even Nehru was not a national socialist at all. For example, he says very clearly, Indians have cast an incredible taint on the word socialism by associating it with controls on trade and industry. Socialism means the creation of equal opportunity for all. In this sense, India never implemented socialist policies. Do you genuinely believe someone who was born in some village 40 kilometers from Jharkhand has the same opportunity as what you and I have born in this pin code here in Bangalore? No, they don't. Socialism means the creation of equal opportunity for all. In this sense, India never implemented socialist policies. A common mistake is to identify central planning or big government as socialism, but these are tools of economic policy, not socialism. So what he says is, we often talk about Nehruvian socialism, we often talk about a great democracy. We have never been socialist because we never created equal opportunities. We are barely democratic because democracy is about giving public goods to everybody. So this book, I personally believe, is actually very dispassionate view of India from Nehru till Modi, saying how public goods governance has never been the focus of our governments, particularly after Indira Gandhi. Corruption in Indian polity took deep roots during Indira Gandhi's time, and it has only been getting deeper ever since. And I think if we want to truly understand India, this book is an absolute must. I could go on this book for a whole day. I mean, it's truly a lovable book, but I do seriously suggest that you please read it. We will all, irrespective of whether we are pro-Modi or pro-Congress or whatever, just because, we have had Congress in Karnataka, it's not going to change anything very much. It's not going to change anything very much because mass education, mass health, and mass job creation has never been on the agenda of any political party, and that is why India is going to be very difficult to fix. Thank you.